It was probably the end of 2015 or the starting of 2016 when a lot of us jumped on these social media platforms, starting to create our accounts, and we just experienced Facebook for the first time. And it's almost 10 years from that time now, and a lot of us have come a long way. We have transitioned from consuming the content to now actually creating it, right? And a lot of us are doing really good in that aspect. So this video is actually about the gear that I'm using in 2026 and a little bit of the story behind it. I just wanted to create this video, to tell you that you don't need an expensive gear to start, but if you have started a while back and you want to upgrade, this video is going to help you a lot. So starting off with the first and foremost aspect of content creation, which is how you capture things, and that comes down to camera. So I am currently using the ZV E10 Mark 1. I got this last year, I guess, right? And it has been serving me pretty well. I did not know a lot about cameras a while back when I bought this, but it was really important for me to experience something in this budget without just getting something very expensive. Probably it was best to buy this, but there was a catch. So when I bought this camera, I did not know much about the profiles of the camera, which is like the log profiles and how they actually help in color grading. I mostly was focusing on photos and a few videos at the time, even though I wanted to create content using this. But I thought that let's start with the cheapest camera we have in the market. And so I did not know that this camera does not have a 10-bit sensor, and what it means is that the color range which this camera actually records is a lot lesser than a 10-bit camera, right? It has, I think, 1 million colors more, I guess. I'll put the photo somewhere on the screen. And so what it does is, while helping, an 8-bit camera actually does the banding in the colors, right? Banding is basically when you're trying to push a color too much from its hue range, and that's when you see these lines. So but this camera has been serving me pretty well, as you can see. But I did not know that this camera has 8-bit colors, and 8-bit colors are really not preferable when you are buying a camera for video specifically, because you're going to color grade that. And a 10-bit camera is much preferred if you are color grading and thinking in that cinematic aspect. If you are starting out and you don't want to focus too much on color grading aspect, and most of the videos that you shoot are outdoors, then this camera is going to help you quite well. And so the next thing of this topic is actually the lenses that I'm using. It's a very funny story, because I just bought the camera body initially. I wanted to get a prime lens, so I did not go with the kit lens in this camera. I bought the body along with a 50mm f1.8. Now in my mind, I did not know that the focal length is actually dependent, or it actually crops in a lot if you are getting a lens which has a higher focal length range. So I got this you can see the 50mm Sony lens, and it is blazingly fast in terms of autofocus. It is very light. One thing is that I don't use lens caps, so it gets dirty very easily. And so I bought this lens, and as soon as I put this on my camera, I realized that this is so cropped in. Like, I have to sit very, very far from the lens in order to record myself. And that's when I started to research about lenses, their focal lengths, what does aperture actually do. But obviously in terms of video, 50mm has a lot of compression. Your face looks a lot broader, and with that you have to sit far away from the lens in order to record. And if somebody else is not recording you, you are just doing a talking head, then the focal length is not preferable. So that's when I got the 16mm Sigma f1.8, the very famous influencer lens as you can say. A lot of people are using this. This is currently mounted on my camera, and this is the one which I'm using to record myself right now. And this has f1.4, so slightly better low light performance, but because it's 16mm, I can just sit closer to the camera and I can record myself. See, I am almost at a hand's distance from the lens, and it's recording me. It has good field of view, so it doesn't feel very cropped in. Currently I have switched off the active stabilization, because as you know, the Sony ZV E10 does not have in-body stabilization. You have to stabilize the video by cropping into it, and when you switch that feature on, the frame is somewhere like here, right? It crops in 1.5x. 16mm I think becomes somewhat like 24mm, I would say. So now the camera and the lens part has been covered, and let's move on to the next important thing. I am talking about the mic. Previously I used to record with my iPhone. I used to record the video from the camera, right, and the audio from my iPhone, and I used to sync that up in the software, but it gets really difficult sometimes. It increases your editing time a lot because you have to find the relevant audio clip to attach it with that video which you recorded, and sometimes it gets mismatched, sometimes it gets lost. So I was gifted this DJI mic mini. Let me just open it for you and show you. So currently it's mounted on the spatula. The actual the setup is mounted on my camera with a TRS cable, and I was blown away by the audio quality on this. You will not believe, currently I have switched on the noise cancellation because there is construction going on, and it just mixes up with the audio. So I have switched on the noise cancellation, and you can obviously hear how much of the noise is coming in. It's almost close to zero. And for the gain level, I have currently put it on -6 decibels. That's how much gain it has. And now the last topic, which is also the most talked about things on the internet that I've seen. A lot of people have different perspective of this specific thing, and it's software, right? कि हम edit किस पे करते हैं. So basically there are a lot of softwares that people edit on. Some people have been editing from 5 to 6 years on Premiere Pro, and they rarely switch to any other software. Similarly, people who are editing on DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro, they are comfortable in that user interface, and so they don't want to switch. And that is why I switched to DaVinci Resolve, because I felt like I had more control over the colors, specifically the color grading part. Because इसके अलावा तो I just chop up the clips and I line them up in the timeline. But it was mostly because of color grading that I chose DaVinci Resolve, and I am really happy that I went with this. Initially it used to feel slightly difficult to use, because there is somewhat of a learning curve in DaVinci Resolve, because there is no direct panel to put on all these colors, or set the exposure and contrast and everything. You have to do that with nodes. So again, if you don't prefer that, then go with the software that you like, but make sure that आपके software में वो basic चीज़ें हों which can actually help you to proceed with the edit. And for the machine also, I'll say the same thing, that start with what you have, because with an editing machine, it's not really important in the starting to have the maxed out version of anything that you like. And so initially for a very long time I kept editing on my phone. I used the app which is called VN. I know a lot of you have been using that for reels. So it's really a good app, because we don't have CapCut available in India, and I don't want to go through all those shortcuts to change the ID location to just download CapCut. VN works pretty well for me if it's with mobile. And then with that I also had a Windows laptop. It was the HP Victus, I think it was Ryzen 5 7800H, and it was a nice laptop to edit the videos. It had a lot of capability, but ultimately I realized that I have to switch to different user interface, I would say. So I went with the MacBook M4 Air, which is this, and it serves me quite good. A lot of times I feel really happy that I did not spend that extra money on a pro version, because I rarely go to that extent in editing where I really need a pro machine. I just trim the clips that I have. I do pretty heavy color grading because I like doing that. But apart from it, I don't use the Fusion tab and noise reduction and all of those things. So I think this machine is good for me. And so this is the 512GB variant, which has 16GB of RAM. Now 16GB comes as base. So this is nice. I did not go with the 256GB variant, because if you'll check, it has slower speeds because of how the NAND gates are set up in the SSD. So this was pretty much about all the gear that I use currently. I am pretty satisfied with that. I think it's important to realize the importance of actually owning something, rather than to just run behind some shiny item which you don't even need at this stage. This was pretty much I think about the gear that I use. I know the video might not be looking very structured, because I don't know how to properly have a layout in a vlog. This was just me sitting and telling you about the stuff that I use for content creation. And so at last I also wanted you to know that I've started to post on my main channel now. I have removed the videos from the new channel that I created. All of my videos will be posted on the main channel, which I created way back in 2010. I used to post music covers on that channel, but I want to take this content creation journey in a different direction. I really like to shoot cinematic videos, and I am just learning. I've just started out, so it's not like I know a lot of things in this. I am definitely going to learn a lot from a lot of other creators, and also simultaneously going to share whatever I can from the things that I learn. And at last, I also wanted to show you one last thing before I go. This is the Diazo or Daiso bag that I use for camera. This was also actually gifted to me by one of my colleagues, and it actually can take both of my lenses, my camera body, my mic, all of my lens caps, the camera charger, the wire, everything. I'll put a link down below if you want to buy this. So this was about it. The kind of content that I'm thinking of creating and putting it out there for you is not very vlog centric. I want to create something which I can sustain in the long run, and I like to create because it takes a lot to shoot a 50-second clip on location one, then keep changing the locations and recording that. Sometimes the flow just gets disrupted, and if you are not the kind of person where you like a heavily edited vlog, you are not going to create the same as well. So thank you so much for staying in and watching this video till the end. I'll see you in the next one. If you like this video, make sure that you subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.